morning, you guys.
Good morning.
If there's any more, we're going to have to call a fire marshal.
You got a full house, huh?
Enough to make me nervous.
Hey.
All right, my name is Anthony Stover. I'm the son of a Baptist pastor who became a prodigal son. And then about 5 years ago, Yah put his foot on my neck and got my attention and brought me into flat earth and Torah. And then once I hit Torah, flat earth was not as important, and then the Torah brought me back to the Messiah, and then I'm like, okay, there's a flow here I need to find. And so what we're going to talk about today is the creation of this realm and how it all points to the Messiah and what it has to do with free will and how that same system is built, all encompassing. I'm going to start off with a question. It's a rhetorical question. Atheists use it to trick Christians, or to feel smart in their own selves. The question is, can God make a stone so heavy he can't move it? And the answer is yes, he did. And then they say, well, then he isn't God. But what they don't understand is the stone that he made so heavy he can't move is our free will, our choice. I choose to do this, we all choose to do. But he is powerful enough to take the stone and place it where it needs to go so he doesn't ever have to move it. He says he knows the decisions I'll make and goes, okay, so then he needs to be here, and basically can write the story of the world without ever touching our free will, which is crazy awesome. And so I'm going to start off with how he made it, how he made the world. It says he created he formed a circle on the boundary between light and darkness in Job. And in order to make choice, you have to make a free will, you have to make something to choose between. You have Yah or Hasatan, the devil, God or the devil. And so if he is all-powerful in everything, then the opposite of that, he is everywhere, then you have to create a place where you can differentiate yourself from him. So he creates a void and puts light in it. And so now we have a balance. He creates a balanced being. And the farther you pull one side of the balance, the farther you have to pull the other side. And I have an atheist friend he says, God's immoral if he can watch bad things happen to children and not stop it. And I say, but if you take away that ability to harm or take life on a balance, you have to take away the ability to give life. It's just like that. And so he did this for us to be able to choose him. Come in. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm late.
No, sure. So I'm going to draw a diagram, and hopefully because I'm a visual person, so hopefully the diagram will help understand it. So if we have the realm of, this better work for an hour, the realm of Yah. And then he were to divide the light from the darkness. So you have the realm of God, Yahweh. And you have the realm of Hasatan. And we live in this overlap, right here. And these are two quantum realms, or in a Hebraic word, these are two echad realms, where everything is all the same. All good is good, and all bad is bad. Last year, I gave a presentation that's called the binary, the proof of Jesus, and I'm going to backtrack into that a little bit because you might need that information. Is anybody familiar with binary code, like just ones and zeros? I know you are. The concept of it is each bit or byte can only be a 1 or a 0, simultaneously or exclusively. You can't be both at the same time. Now, in quantum computers, they can be. They're called qubits, which is an interesting Bible word anyway. And so we have the realm of Yah, which is 1, the realm of time, which is 0. It's some and none, or all and none, basically. So we basically live in an all or nothing environment. He says, no man can serve 2 masters, whether he hate the one and love the other, or love the one and hate the other. It's all or nothing. And we choose to either go to him or to go away from him. And the interesting thing is the devil has tried to convince us that there is a third realm, ours. I believe this is part of what the globe has to do, is to make it feel like it's something different, a separate entity where we can choose ourselves, but to choose ourselves is still here. Everywhere in this place that life is given, the one comes to the 0 and gives of itself, and sacrifice. The meaning of this entire realm is sacrifice and obedience. Obedience is still sacrifice. It is a sacrificing of my own will. I want to do what I want to do, but I'll sacrifice that and obey. So it's sacrifice and greed.
What? Greed.
Greed, sorry. And because the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. But coin collectors are not in trouble for that. So the money itself is a tattletale. It's saying who you love. If I want a bunch of money to take care of other people, I love other people. If I want a bunch of money to take care of myself, I love myself. The money is the tattletale. It's showing who you care for. And when you divide this, you get your sacrifice. And in order to remain in here, to be a part of his kingdom, requires the submission. This marker is going to... It's sacrifice. All right. Oh well. It's sacrifice for the one below you and submit to the one above you. This pattern goes from Abba to Yeshua. He submitted his will to the Father's, and the Father sacrificed for him. Then Yeshua sacrificed for us and submitted to the Father. Then the man sacrifices to the woman, his wife, and submits to Yeshua. And the children, it's just the pattern just flows all the way up and down. It's to be a part of his kingdom, we have to submit. And the interesting thing about this, if you can I don't know if you guys can picture this in 3 dimensions. We have, it's like the dividing of a cell, but what you'll end up here is a circle with, you'll end up having the firmament and the bottom of Sheol. So we have our boundaries. And the devil is trying to make this realm part of his. He's trying to keep it. And Yah says, we submit and make this our kingdom, keep our mind on this. And when this gets destroyed by fire, we stay. We stay in his kingdom. It's I don't believe that someone, if they do not accept the Messiah, will burn forever. I cannot find that in the Scripture. I know there are certain the devil and his angels will. However, annihilation is a result of this. It's basically going, this kingdom remains, and he makes a new heaven and a new earth. And what's interesting about this is, with this being quantum overlap, faith is our spiritual quantum computer. And I believe that our physical quantum computers that are being built for the other dimensions below. And if they say it has access, the creator of the quantum computer says it has access to an infinite amount of other dimensions. How, from our perspective, would we be able to tell what is one infinite dimension or an infinite amount of dimensions. We would never be able to tell that difference from our vantage point. So what we have as faith, they have as magic. And
Magic.
this whole thing here, it comes down to covenant. You either make a covenant with the Creator or you make a covenant with the devil. Either way, you must commit to something here. This is why he says the lukewarm he will spew out of his mouth. So it's all about motion, movement. Like if we look at, if I leave a car in my driveway and I drive, if I have two identical cars, I leave one in my driveway and I drive the other one, the one that sits will break the fastest. It deteriorates. If I lay in bed for too long, my body will I'll start dying. I'm sorry, my iPad got lost last night, so I was not, so this is last year it happened the same thing, but they couldn't interact with the Apple upstairs, so I had to do this anyway, so I'm used to it at this point. So to create our choice, or our ability to choose, he stretches out the scale for us. And he says, choose you this day whom you will serve. And he wants us it's basically empathy. It's empathy for others. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love Yah, love your neighbor as yourself. And the second is like the first. For me to take care of you is the same as me loving Yah, because we are all part of his body. We are his bride. I did find it this morning, but I was not able to finish what I needed. Okay, so everything has boundaries here. This is driving me nuts. If everything has boundaries.
We got people looking for another marker for you.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I asked for one. They're
Oh,
trying to locate
awesome.
one for you.
Thank you.
If they
You're
find
like a
it.
ninja. I didn't see you leave. So everything is created with boundaries. Then who's to say that this construct of boundaries is not what this entire place is built on? It's a realm. It is not it's an attack on the covenant from down here. It is covenant or attack on covenant. And like literally the globe earth itself is an attack on the family. This whole thing is about the family. We're going to do a film. You got to give me a hug though.
As long as it's being filmed.
Yeah. I want it more than you. I don't get them often from Chris, so now I have a record. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. It's the purest black. So this to me is a way to keep our minds in a place where we can understand that this is wood, hay, and stubble here. This is a vapor. It's going away. What is important is making sure we remain in this circle. And everything here, everything fleshly, is trying to pull us away. The more we focus on this realm, the less we see here, the less we see our Father, the less we see his kingdom. And it's all going away. He's burning it all. He's doing to it what I do to pizza rolls all the time. Let me double check something. So we end up creating, we can have a flat panel plane, and I'm not advocating sacred geometry at all. Not at all. I'm saying that with geometric shapes, squares, circles, this shape here begins it all, because at this point you then get two equilateral triangles, and then it starts branching off into the other shapes. Again, not advocating anything esoteric. I'm just merely trying to display my understanding of this realm for us to keep our minds on the Messiah, to know it's all about sacrifice. It's not ourselves, it is others. Give, give, give. And this pattern is into the family. This pattern is in everything outside. A molecular biologist said that this world is created by equilateral triangles that form hexagons.
That form what?
Hexagons. Which, it's a grid basically. This is like when you play a video game. I'm not promoting a simulation theory at all. I'm saying the concept of, there's nothing new under the sun, so the concept of how we're able to create a video game world is built on what is used to create this amazing, amazing art. Like, we're born into a war, basically, and it is the most beautiful war. People go to war and they fire guns and it's horror. We're in war and we can laugh with our friends and taste strawberries and whatever you guys love to do, like the gifts that he gave us. And to me, that's another part of the balance. And to me, shows that he loves us. He says to taste and see that he is good. And I used to think that meant like, taste how good he is. But it's literally down to the food itself. He didn't have to make it so it tastes good. We could have just ate fuel pellets. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't, we could have just been like, oh, it's time to fuel. But he didn't. He gave us all the flavors and then the combinations of all the flavors. He literally says, taste and see that I love you. I'm caring for you. And this same pattern is replicated into the family. And to me, this is the attack from the beginning from the devil. Even the glow birth itself is to make the children feel like they're far away from the Father, rather than he is right there. And this isn't as important as family. The structure of family and the body of Christ family, this is the meaning of life, to be one in him as he is one with the Father, and to run that power flow. It's basically a flow of power. So it starts with Yah, and then he gives his power. And if he gives it to Yeshua, and so if Yeshua doesn't submit, what happens to the power? It stops. It's a valve. Our egos is a valve for the power that Yah has for us. So once we go, not my will, yours, the valve opens. Submission is the conduit for love. Then it comes down. And you just keep rolling that same pattern down, and it's right here. And this is why, in order for this part to remain part of this, it requires submission. Because submission is the draw between the two. It is the bond, the molecular bond between them. It is I give you my power, I give you my will. And it becomes a perfect, balanced harmony of what he wants. Because he has perfection. He has the correct idea of everything. But yet he still let us choose, which is awesome. Because you can't have love without choice. If I make an automaton that has to love me, does it? And so that's pretty much it. It's just a basic concept I'm trying to share that I want you guys to go and try to find it. Find it everywhere around you. You'll start to see it. You'll start to, and keep in mind that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. We are born into the most glorious, beautiful war ever. And the trying of our faith works patience, and to keep in mind that this is not a physical place. It is a spiritual place that appears physical as part of our trials. That's it. It's a very concise thing. I'm not going to just say words. So, yes.
Can you move it down to the man and
Yep.
from Yeshua to man, and then man to wife and wife to children.
Yep.
Oh, that's weird, right, sideways.
Yeah. And it's the same pattern. Sacrifice, submit. Sacrifice, submit. And it's basically opening the valves for the power and the perfection to go through. And his love will take care of all of this if all of these submit.
That's so good.
Yes, sir.
What about the reverse?
The taking. If we look at it, we see the devil says he wants to make an ascension. And that rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. So the opposite of submission is rebellion. And so if this level sacrifices for this level and gives, then the opposite of that is going to be for this level to try to make an ascension and take. There's a difference between receiving and taking. So does that answer your question? It's just basically moving the flow in the opposite direction. I touch on that in a little bit in the film Covenant Warfare they're going to play tonight. And sorry. Yes.
But that is so revealing, because what happens is the re-education camps or schools are teaching children to be different and do something else. It's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's where it starts.
They're teaching rebellion.
Awesome.
Is there any other questions? I'm sorry it wasn't that long, you guys. I'm not one to just say a bunch of words to make it last. It's hard for me to do that. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you think animals are anywhere in here?
I don't know. I've thought about that a lot. Like, I don't know if they're part of the construct. Are they just part of this place? Do they have souls? I've seen all dogs go to heaven, but do they? I don't know.
In Hebrew, they have nefesh, which is soul.
They do?
Well, they have,
Genesis
they
1
talk about
has
creation
nefesh.
in heaven in Revelation, right?
Mhm. Do you think they need the Messiah?
Well, if he's our high priest and he's intercessing on our behalf and doing the job of a high priest, that requires, sacrifice and using animals to do so.
It says the priest of salvation is all
Yeah.
creation.
That's true too.
Do animals have free choice?
I believe they do.
Or do they just operate on natural instinct?
I've thought about that for a long time. Like, are they just programmed? Like, is this just like? But I believe they do.
I mean, every single time you get home, your dog's gonna love you no matter what. That's not free choice.
That's not true, though.
I think if you mistreat your dog, it won't.
Right, exactly.
Right?
It'll be a false.
I'm not a dog person. I'm nice to them, but I assume if I hit it with a stick, it might bite me one day.
It's too good. When I was thinking about, okay, we are redeemed from the curse, and we're reestablished in the Adam, Adam is restored, and us being, we should not be fearing animals, because, he said he will make the animals submit to us. You see what I'm saying? But the way the world is right now, most people fear the animals because they don't know who they are in Christ and their authority in the earth, and that those things have been restored to us. But the thing is, like you're saying, if we are not being kind to the animals, then there's no peace. You see what I'm saying? If we're killing them to eat them, then that creates
Yeah.
I know, I'm not saying that, I'm not a vegetarian, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm not either.
But to be, hunted down,
Yeah.
then, that creates animosity and a fear. And fear is the opposite of love. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if we don't have peace and we have fear in us, then that creates fear, I believe,
So
in animals.
to get what you're saying, just make sure I get what you're saying is, we fear animals because we do not fear Yahweh.
Right. And
They see that.
right. and we don't know who we are. You see what I'm saying? If we have the Holy Spirit in us, well, of course they know the Holy Spirit. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And they know what we emanate, our emotions and spirit that we emanate. And if we are, we can speak to them. They understand the spirit,
Yeah.
and if we have peace and, are not fearing them, then I believe things can get back in order the way that they should.
And they will one day.
Yeah.
Until then,
The line
it is
lays
falling.
down with the lamb.
Yeah. This I might get into trouble for saying this. Please. The concept of socialism, not a government instituted it.
Right.
We all take care of each other
Right.
without being prompted.
Right.
I put your needs ahead of mine, you put hers, and at the end of the day, we are all taking care of each other and have built relationships.
Right.
I
Yes.
think that's why it's so attractive, especially to the younger generation.
Yeah.
Because there's,
Inside we know.
yes.
We know that that's
But
the way it
screw it all
should be.
The thing is, one drop of greed will wipe it.
Right.
Because if I put a taker in a room full of givers,
Right.
who's leaving with the most in his bag?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Do you have a question?
I was just wondering if you could speak to fear in that system. How does that look? How does fear play a factor in sacrifice and
Here's the opposite of love.
Where all of this is nothing, it's all the same. It is the lack of something. There's no such thing as cold. There's just less heat. There's no such thing as darkness. It's no light. It's the void with things put in it, and wherever that thing isn't, it. So with fear, and I don't mean the same kind of fear as fear of Yah, actual fear, is the absence of trust, of love. If you love, and your faith will let you know it's there.
Yes.
And
Now, what if the family is broken down and the child goes into fear? There's no wife to trust, there's no mom or dad. Is that skip? I'm just curious.
this is where I believe the body is supposed to do this.
Yes.
Where we're supposed to take care of the people around us. I'll tell you a story. It was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I felt it was all day on a Saturday. I just had this inner voice going, go to church. Or no, technically, that was the summarization that said, forsake not the assembling of yourselves together.
Right.
Forsake not the assembling of yourselves together all day. It was so annoying. And so I go to bed at night, and I wake up Sunday morning, this is church day. This is
Back.
before I understood. And so I woke up, open one eye, did it stop? Forsake not the assembling of yourselves together. No! So I did what I'm good at, and I just kind of wait and just don't do anything. And I'm it's 12:30, 1 o'clock, church is over. Yes! No voice, no voice. My phone rings, it's my friend, and she goes, hey, you want to go to church with me at 2? And I'm all right, you win. You win, I'm going. And so I'm sitting I go to this church, never been there before, I'm sitting in there, and I'm looking around, and I make music, and I know somewhat about the prices of music equipment, and I'm looking at their setup, and I'm they got a dope setup. It's $30 grand right there. And then I felt the Spirit go, now look at the staff. Now look at the building, the mortgage, the maintenance, the books, the coffee bar, the pamphlets, the carpet. And I'm dude, wow, that's a lot of money. And then the Spirit goes, now multiply that times every church in America. You could have taken care of the poor.
Yeah.
We could have done it just ourselves.
Yes.
And led by example, so other people see the light.
Yeah.
They will know you by how you treat one another. So I believe, to answer your question, is if we did our job correctly, we could show them that pattern without them having a familial
Yeah.
example of that. Does that answer it? Sort of. Yes.
Wouldn't fear be kind of turning them out the opposite way from sacrifice? Because, a lot of people don't sacrifice because they're afraid of things. Satan tried to attack Jesus,
Mhm.
and try to make him fear the sacrifice. I mean, would that kind of, like, I mean, every instance I can think of where you have to sacrifice, fear is the thing that tries to convince you not to sacrifice.
I don't, yes, I don't believe it's the opposite way, because there's no other flow. It's some or none.
But
It's
it's
a
a
shutting
shutting
off of
off.
it. Yes,
Right,
it's a
yeah.
shutting off of it, because it's all the same. Nothing is nothing. So darkness, cold, fear, all of those are all the same. They're the lack of Yah, or what we're supposed to be doing.
They're part of the void or the emptiness.
Yes.
So what if you run into a lot of takers though? So they want to sacrifice your kid, you have around a ton of takers.
I believe,
The pecking stone of.
I believe that is the best scenario for a person for this vapor of a life. If you get placed by the takers, then Yah has given you enough to take care of them. One, you might heal some of them, but two, at the end of this life, that's what we're judged on. Whether or not we followed the Messiah and took care of it. Love Yah, love your neighbor. And so, if Yah puts us in a place where we're surrounded by takers, then He has given He gives us what we need to take care of them.
So when he would remove himself from all the takers,
Mhm.
what was he doing?
What do
Was
you
he
mean?
aligning his faith and love again to build back up?
Probably, yeah.
Was he meditating? Was it
Oh,
called?
I'm not
You
sure.
know, maybe you looked at that.
No, I will. It's interesting.
Opening that valve, he's opening that valve
Yeah.
back to Yah.
Right,
To refill,
refilling back
to
up.
refill himself.
And he did it in isolation.
Mhm.
All night, prayed all night.
Yeah.
And then did it
40
again.
days now.
Yeah,
Yep.
40 days.
I have a thought that tied into what you were talking about, so I don't mean to get esoteric either, but you said the triangles create the hexagon. And I'm kind of following a bunny trail, I was hoping you could
Okay.
help, because I don't know where it goes. But the hexagons are also carbon.
Yep.
The six side, six, and if you do that, you get a benzene ring.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
And then so you have like sixes and sixes.
Yep,
and
and
sixes,
six is
and
the
then
number
you
of
get
man.
And then you get a dodecahedron.
Yep.
I didn't know if you could go further than that, or if you thought about that. If this is the concept.
I
is
would
he
love
trying-
to, in
is
a
he
private
trying to
conversation, I
break
would love to,
in?
where it could be speculation more. I mean, because this is speculation with things that I can see around me. Because when I first came into Torah, from, I guess you'd call it Christianity, even though I was all about myself and backslidden, I just started sprinting down the path. Like, oh, this is amazing. And then I get to a certain point and I realize, wait a minute, I literally said the words, I don't care why I have to do this. I just want to do it. And that's blind obedience. And I will never, ever see the Messiah in it. And I feel like a lot of people want, and I can understand how you feel this way. Once you realize you've been lied to and that the Old Testament applies to us, then we want to go step back into the Old Testament and find the Messiah the way they did. However, we're after the Messiah. We need to go to the Messiah and then follow him into Torah backwards. And it would stop a lot of the bickering, and because the division that goes on, I don't know what it is about me, it takes a toll on me. I see people fighting, I'm like, about what are you even fighting about? You're fighting about the meaning of a word? Like you're taking one of the greatest commandments, love your neighbor, and you're debating about how to say a word? Like what? So if you want to have a conversation sometime, I would like to see what you know. And
Go along with the whole, it's like you're saying with the whole sacred geometry, and I guess you could just call it geometry, right? Because it's something that exists. I mean, it's just like music, it exists, we just kind of take notes and arrange it. So,
Right.
I mean, if you have to say sacred geometry, you'd be like sacred music, sacred,
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I kind of struggle with it having esoteric meaning, but at the same time, is that just the enemy taking what what the Father created and using it for His benefit.
I'll make a sentence and see if it implies what you're saying. The more powerful tool there is, the more powerful weapon it can be used as.
Yes, yes.
So, the devil knows shapes, he knows geometry, he passed. And so, he uses it for his, he basically takes this entire thing, this is when he says as above, so below, this is what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
He's trying to flip this whole thing so he can ascend himself up. Ascend himself up. Okay, probably shouldn't say it like that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Because I think you're correct. It's basically just geometry, and everything about him is in everything. Like literally, if you go down to praying mantises and black widows, the wives eat the husband as soon as they have babies. And I used to think like, that's crazy. Why would he do that? Now I see.
She's a taker.
A man sacrifices for the wife to bring life to the children. And it's just like little details like that just everywhere. And I can't wait till we get to know all of them, because we probably know like that much. And we're like, this is so beautiful. And he's like, yeah, okay. You have no idea. And he puts our picture on his fridge like, that's great. Yes.
Both have to die. The egg and the sperm have. The egg and the sperm both have to die in order to create the new life.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Okay. My question is, when you were not, you didn't have your eyes open, you didn't understand anything, what were you looking into spiritually? What's your history, your spiritual path history? Just curious.
I was the person that I wasn't a taker, but I turned love, the taking care of people, into a business transaction.
Okay.
Which I would say, oh, you need help? I'll be happy to help you. You help me do this. I require something backwards for
That's
it.
not my question. No,
That's-
sorry.
no.
Did you look at religious systems?
No,
You
no,
didn't study
no.
philosophies of any
No,
sort?
no.
Okay.
I just,
But your dad was a pastor though, so you had a background, a history,
Yeah.
a background
Yeah.
Well,
in
you
the
knew
word.
about the tree of life and the quantum stuff. Where did
that
you
was,
learn that?
that was after my eyes started opening up.
Huh.
Yeah, that was within the last 5 years. It was,
Oh, okay.
So how did the Torah lead you here?
It's backwards.
it's actually the binary concept, because if you go on YouTube and type in binary proofs Jesus, I do a whole thing that starts this thing, and the Torah led me to that this is how it is, and then it just started extrapolating in my head. I didn't.
Flesh and blood did not reveal this to you.
No.
The Spirit.
This was Yah saying, because after I started understanding, because I never believed, I trusted that what my dad told me about God was real. I didn't believe it. I didn't have faith. Trust is I can go, yeah, that chair will hold me. Faith is sitting in it. I never sat in it. That's why I say faith without works is dead. If you're not willing to sit, there's no faith. And so my faith was, I just trusted. And so it was basically just information at that point. Just, oh yeah, that's one way to look at it. So once that, Yah said, here, you silly guy. Now you know. That actually became the darkest few months of my life. Like, I was frozen because I knew I either have to just willingly burn my life to the ground and go, all right, we're going for broke here.
Right.
Or I have to change my entire life and focus my attention to him. And I didn't want to do either. They both sounded really bad to me at that point. And eventually I was just like, there's only one decision here. It's nothing. Why am I choosing nothing? It's like,
Right.
there's no reward in that.
Yet the Lord was in that first experience of yours as a child growing up in a Baptist home with a
Yeah.
Baptist church. The Lord
Yes.
used on it.
Yes.
I'm just curious when I hear people say, and then now I know the truth because I have studied Torah. And I'm not a Baptist, but I am of that, have been of that evangelical realm. And I don't feel like that all changed because I now call it Torah instead of the first 5 books of the Bible. Does that make sense?
Oh,
As growing up, I was able to get that
Yes.
without saying, now I have the truth, because I'm no longer part of that system. Does that make sense?
Yes,
think
and
confused myself.
no, I'm with you. I didn't go into Torah and just throw out and go, oh, the Christianity is this. They have lots of the truth.
Right.
I realized that I wasn't given all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that the Messiah is in that.
Right.
And it's how I get to see, how I know my groom. And does that,
Yeah, I just think I was blessed to be able to have that in an evangelical
Right.
system,
that is awesome.
which was
It's rare.
on Sunday. Okay.
Yeah.
And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday we wanted to. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, all Christians follow Torah to an extent. They don't call it that, but they follow it to an extent.
There's like that when I see people arguing about it, I'm like, you're arguing about dietary instructions and feasts? Like,
Tassels.
yeah. Like there's still, like you catch more bees with honey. I hate that phrase because they make the honey, so I don't know how you're gonna catch them with their own thing. Okay, there we go. That makes way more sense. I'm glad I wrote that in my book.
Catch more bears with honey.
I don't want to catch bears. I don't know what to do with them once I get them.
So do you call yourself a Christian?
I call myself a lover of Yah. I don't feel like I should. Cause I remember being little and being part of a non-denominational denomination and going. I remember being like 8 years old, going, you can't say non-denominational because that makes you a denomination.
Right.
And so I don't like to. It's not about religion to me. It's about relationship.
Yes.
It's the whole thing is just a relationship with Abba. And if someone wants to call me a Christian, I'm not gonna be mad at them, but I would rather explain to them that.
I think it's what that label implies, does that, what it implies actually represent how you live your life? It's like, not to get into politics, but the difference between a Republican and conservative, you can call yourself a Republican, but not necessarily be conservative,
Yeah.
So, it's like, what do people think of as a Christian? Does it actually represent how, you live your life?
Yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't call myself a Christian, I'd call myself a Hebrew, because I realize that a Hebrew is what I am. The Father says I'm a part of Israel. I'm a part of him, the nation he established. And Christian doesn't really represent the fullness of what that is.
When I think of the word Christian, I just think of the word Christ-like.
Yeah.
And I might be oversimplifying it, but
Right.
to me it's like, that's just why I don't even like the religion
Right.
thing. I just go, he's my groom, and I'm trying not to be the whore of a wife that I used to be. And he forgave me and accepted me, and I want to love him and flow his power to others, like be a vessel for him. So,
I've settled on born again whole Bible believing.
That's a mouthful. Can you turn that into an acronym?
Turn it into an acronym.
Okay, but what kind of church do you go to? What denomination? It's like, no, I'm just a born again whole Bible believer.
Yeah.
I believe the whole Bible. I'm born again. And that's just
I'm
it.
just curious how your relationship with your father, who's a Baptist pastor, changed when this happened for you. Or maybe
Who
is
I
he still
u-
alive?
Yes. Who I used to be was so bad that he sees this change in me, and our relationship is better now because he's open-minded enough to know, hey, this is what God is doing in your life, and you're actually doing something for once. Ooh, I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to throw you off the stand. So yeah, it's
Wasn't he
better.
here last year?
Mhm.
He was great.
I love
He
my
was
dad.
great. He
Yeah.
was very proud of you. I could tell by the way he was speaking, because he kind of got into it.
He saw a lot of bad stuff
Yeah.
in my life.
I
Yeah, so
think he was very happy with God's.
just try to.
so you keep referring to us as the bride, which we are, and you said that you felt like you were smited because you saw your little life is not what God wanted.
Yeah.
I felt like he wooed me. And that's what a groom does to his bride.
Yeah.
He woos you so he can meet you in this Christian setting and woo you to him. So he meets you.
I think you are absolutely correct, and I would like to amend the smiting to he made my conscience smite me by making me aware of what I was doing to him while he was wooing. Is that better? Okay, I think that's more accurate for me. Thank you.
It does feel like that. It does feel like smiting sometimes.
Yeah.
But
once
it is
you
what we do to ourselves.
once you realize
Yeah.
your sin, my conscience smited me. So I'm glad you said that. Thank you.
Tony, you said you talked about the quantum overlap. That's the overlap there in the realm, you
Mhm.
called it, right?
Yes.
And that's where we walk in faith.
Yes.
And quantum, if you define that word by itself, I'm gonna give you a definition, you tell me yes or no, because I don't even know. But I'm looking at that, and you know how in the quantum computer, the qubit can be in both places at the same time. Are you calling that overlap a quantum realm there?
Yes.
So that
It's a
could
quantum
be-
realm overlap of two quantum realms.
But I'm saying, okay, well then what is a quantum?
It's-
Define quantum the word.
Where
Not
everything
realm,
is
just the word.
all one, and one is all. It's
It's all the same, homogeneous?
it's all part of.
The contents of this overlap place is all Yah and all
Yes.
Hasatan.
Yes.
Okay.
This is how Hasatan gets prince status. He's the prince of the power of the air. This is how he gets any sort of jurisdiction here at all. Is
So
by
it's just the air.
yeah, and this right here is how it's just choice. This is it.
So where does second heaven or courts of heaven come in? Is that?
I have no idea.
That's not in this picture.
That's the other side.
I'm not sure.
That's above the firmament.
I got a question. So, would it be fair to say, like in the beginning, in the garden, it was all, the top circle, it was all life, and then once the fall happened, then it was life and death?
This is where
And
my
that's
research
where
is.
the quantum,
It opened
I'm
doors.
trying-
It opened doors.
I'm in the middle of researching now to try to figure out if this happened at the fall of Lucifer
Yeah.
or the fall of man.
Right. Oh,
I'm not sure.
wow.
And what came first?
I think it's the fall of
I
man
think that's
because
all, because the darkness was already on the face of the deep before man was created.
Didn't Lucifer egg on the fall of man?
yes.
So he had to fall first.
Exactly.
Oh, you're saying at the fall of man was when this was?
Man was given us.
Okay.
because, I wouldn't say death didn't come into the picture until the fall, and that's when we were subject to death.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards the fall of man, but I'm not, don't hold me to that. I'm still,
Then
this
like
is what my thought pattern.
in Deuteronomy, I mean, literally it's that simple, it's life and death. He said,
Yeah.
these things before you today.
Yes. That's awesome, yes.
So, here's a question of all that. So if we believe that the stars are actually angels, but the stars were not been created until day 4, do you believe in then like a gap theory? There's, eons amount of time or anything in there, or do you literally believe that's a physical? Because if they're created on day 4, that would mean then, if Satan fell somewhere between day 4 and then Genesis 3, I guess, right?
I think,
Or do you believe the angels existed before day 4?
Yeah.
I think
I-
we did.
I got
He just
some-
put them in the spots that
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Well, it says, he said that he placed them in the firmament on day 4, but
Okay.
they were also, they were, in Job, it talks about, the angels rejoice at the foundations of the earth.
Right.
So they
And
were.
so, he placed them in on day 4, it doesn't necessarily mean they were created on day 4.
It's just like the light, he spoke the light into, the light is, Messiah is the light. He didn't create the light, he just spoke it into our earth realm, into time. out of eternity into time,
Yeah.
which is our,
So do we have any indication from the scriptures when the angels were created?
wow.
Not quite. Just a
I have
little.
no idea. I've been preoccupied. I have a baby.
There are many different kinds.
Right, yeah, I know there's different classes and stuff.
Those could have been created for that purpose, to just circle around, do what they're supposed to do.
Be
Right.
the second hands on the clock.
Yeah.
You had a
I was
question?
gonna say, what if the fall of Lucifer caused the second quantum realm? So it was a division, that the fall of man brought it merged them back together.
I like that. That's
Open,
really.
open the door.
That's
There
interesting.
you go, there you go, we get it.
There you go.
We'll look into that.
There is a little there, a little, you got line upon line.
Oh, yeah.
Say that out
The
loud.
the dividing of cells, it sounds like mitosis, the dividing
Yeah.
of cells.
Do they ever come back together?
Yeah. I think they did that.
We're over
Is it a-
$70.
Do they come back together if one is a cancer cell? Does it start to eat the other one? I don't know, just throwing it out there. Because death is a cancer, sin is a cancer.
Yeah.
And so if everything is like the cell, and I don't, do they?
Cells are corrupting of cancer is a corrupting of the message, it's supposed to live and die. Your cells are supposed to live and die,
It just
and
says-
cancer corrupts that dying cell.
It just says die.
See, a cancer cell is a cell that is a radical that does not respond to the, there's the cells and bacteria in our body and, neurotransmitters that tell this cell, okay, you have reproduced, this is enough, no more. And it shuts down the reproduction. But a cancer cell ignores the signal to stop, and they continue.
So it doesn't submit.
It's not, it ignores the command.
And it's not responsive to fevers,
That's
like
right.
the person doesn't get fevers anymore.
But it
Really?
is
Yeah.
responsive to.
The normal cells will respond, or won't, like the cancer cells, actually you have to induce a fever to kill cancer. Your body will not go into a normal fever in
Right.
cancer.
Okay, we didn't get this in Sunday school.
I
I believe it.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that it? I think that's it.
I just want to qualify, in the quantum realm,
Mhm.
we are to walk by faith,
Not by sight.
submission,
Yes,
sacrifice,
yes,
not trust and blindly belief,
correct.
automatic robotic.
Yeah.
And when we don't, I think the lot question is, what is truth? What is faith? What is the real faith?
Is the Messiah. It's really believe he sacrificed, if he is the light, and this place is made out of light, I literally think he created this out of himself. It says, by him and for, or without him, nothing was made. So, it's, everything goes back to the Messiah. And this is what I'm trying to point to, is just, I don't know a lot, but I know that I just try to encourage people to see the Messiah in everything. And that's the point to me. That's the whole point of this whole hour, is find the Messiah in literally everything around you. And it's beautiful. They're beautiful little stories. It's awesome.
If what he said is true, and the fall of Satan created quantum reality, then, you know, Yeshua created this one by sacrificing to.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Look at all the stuff we figured out today.
The more I know, the more dumb I know I am. Thank you guys. Sorry it was sick.
I just want to ask you, how do you know
That was awesome. Good stuff. Praise God.